one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
Over half a century ago, the United States completed the impossible. On July 16, 1969, Apollo 11 was launched. 4 days later, 3 astronauts arrived at a place that humankind had never set foot on before: the moon.
I believe that this nation should commit itself to achieving the goal, before this decade is out, of landing a man on the moon and returning him safely to the Earth.
After John F. Kennedy was elected president, he announced the beginning of the Apollo missions. In 1961, the We Choose to Go to the Moon speech kickstarted the program and persuaded the American people to support the project to put a man on the moon. He also intended to further progress in the space race.
The space race was an ongoing competition between America and the Soviets. It took place during the Cold War between 1955 and 1975. The winner of this race would prove that its government and country were more technologically advanced. At that time, the Soviets were winning in the race, and the United States was far behind in their space program. To reclaim fame, America would have to successfully send a man to the moon. The Apollo program began in 1961.
Before the 11th Apollo mission, NASA's Apollo program had launched 10 other manned and unmanned spacecrafts. They all contributed to the development of Apollo 11, which is why it was one of the most successful missions in the history of spaceflight.
The purpose of this mission was to land humans on the lunar surface and bring them safely back to Earth. The 3 people that made this historic expedition possible were Neil Armstrong, Michael Collins, and Buzz Aldrin.
Neil Armstrong was the mission commander of Apollo 11 and was born on August 5, 1930, near Wapakoneta, Ohio. He attended Purdue University and he worked as a Navy pilot before getting selected to work for NASA. Michael Collins was the command module pilot of Apollo 11. He was born on October 31st in 1930, Rome, Italy. He attended West Point Military Academy in New York. Later on, he served in the U.S. Air Force as a fighter pilot before being chosen to be part of NASA's program in 1963.
Edwin Buzz Aldrin was the lunar module pilot of Apollo 11 and was born on January 20th, 1930 in Montclair, New Jersey. He attended West Point Military Academy in New York and later earned entry into the space program. On January 9th, 1969, the astronauts were selected to be the crew for Apollo 11, and they had a couple months to make preparations for the expedition. The astronauts routinely practiced all actions of their mission and received extensive instruction in geology. This intense training ensured the success of the mission.
Finally, after many months of training and dedication, Apollo 11 successfully launched from the Kennedy Space Center on Merritt Island, Florida, July 16, 1969 at 9:32 a.m. EDT. In total, 650 million people, nearly 1/5 of the world's population at that time, watched the event live.
3, 2, 1, 0. All engine run at the hour. Liftoff on Apollo 11.
The Apollo 11 Saturn V rocket had 3 primary parts: a command module called the Columbia, a service module which attached to the command module, and a lunar module called the Eagle. Once in orbit around the moon, the lunar module would separate from the rest of the spacecraft.
4 days after launch, the crew drew close to their landing site, the Sea of Tranquility. Collins stayed in the command and service module orbiting the moon.
After a successful flight, Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin landed the lunar module on the moon. The 3 astronauts would all reunite right before heading back to Earth.
Houston, Tranquility Base here. The Eagle has landed.
Hours after landing, Armstrong took the first monumental step onto the surface, followed by Aldrin 20 minutes later. Upon stepping off the spacecraft, Neil Armstrong uttered these remarkable words:
It's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
This quote means that although one step may seem like a small task for some, it symbolizes something much larger, like a breakthrough or advancement that altered the course of history. This small step changed humanity's views on spaceflight and exploration. On the moon, Buzz Aldrin deployed the early Apollo Scientific Experiments package, which retrieved needed information from the moon. They also collected valuable surface samples.
Armstrong uncovered a plaque that read, "Here men from the planet Earth first set foot upon the moon, July 1969 AD. We came in peace for all mankind."
Additionally, they erected an American flag. This was all done to commemorate America's victory and man's first visit to the moon.
The astronauts made their way back to Earth after 21 hours and 36 minutes on the moon's surface. After 8 days of total flight time, Apollo 11 splashed down in the Pacific Ocean, and the USS Hornet came to recover them. After splashdown, the trio was immediately sent into quarantine for 3 weeks of isolation in the mobile quarantine facility, as no one had known if the moon contained any deadly pathogens. On August 13, 1969, the astronauts rode in a parade in their honor in New York and Chicago, where an estimated 6 million people attended the events. This marked the official ending of Apollo 11, the mission that triumphantly landed humans on the moon. Apollo 11's success was not easy.
In total, the project costed $355 million and employed 400,000 people. Because of this, NASA achieved one of the greatest milestones in the course of human history. This dramatic moment opened up the imaginative possibilities of spaceflight, not only for the United States, but for an entire world. Before the event, the phrase, "it's like landing on the moon," hinted at something impossible. Afterward, it meant that with enough dedication and effort, we could achieve anything. As Neil Armstrong said,
although President John F. Kennedy did not live long enough to see the Apollo 11 spacecraft in action, the United States fulfilled its pledge to land a man on the moon within the next 10 years. With the triumph of this mission, the United States had demonstrated its technological superiority and its success in the race to space. One way that Apollo 11 broke barriers was by advancements in technology. An example is NASA's pioneering research into integrated circuits, which are small electronics that can perform calculations and store data. NASA and other companies invented the Apollo Guidance Computer, which is one of the first computers to use integrated circuits. The Apollo Guidance Computer managed guidance, navigation, and control of the spacecraft systems. This helped progress the development of newer and faster equipment and led to numerous technological advancements, which not only benefited space missions, but also benefited the world.
innovations developed from Apollo's lunar module program created a renewable energy source used in both Earth and space. This is called solar energy. Solar panels collect electricity by absorbing light and transferring it. They are used on the International Space Station, which was made possible by innovations after Apollo 11. As the years progressed and technology advanced, manned missions required more complex systems than earlier. Since Apollo 11, the trend toward faster, newer electronics continued. Modern handheld devices are capable of performing instructions 120 million times faster than the guidance system that lifted off Apollo 11. The need to minimize computers for space expeditions motivated the space industry to design faster and smaller computers. This has practically affected every aspect of our lives today, from communication to transportation.
Apollo 11 also impacted society. It forced people to view planet Earth in a new way. While on the mission, the astronauts took photos and sent them back to Earth. Humanity saw its home from afar, a fragile blue marble in the darkness of space. The modern environmental movement was influenced by this new perception of Earth and the need to protect it and the life it holds. Apollo 11 was critical to the sea of change. The symbolism that emanated from this mission affected global perspectives of the Earth. In total, 48 pounds of material, including 50 rocks, samples of the lunar soil, and material from up to 13 centimeters below the moon's surface were collected. Scientific data from Apollo 11 uncovered the mystery of the moon, which helps people increase their knowledge of it. Apollo 11 set the examples for future space missions. Apollo 12 through 17 were all manned missions. They went to the moon for further exploration. There were many tests completed on these missions to learn about the moon and its features. On April 24, 1990, the Hubble Space Telescope, which took sharp pictures of objects in the sky, launched. On July 4, 1997, NASA's Pathfinder mission landed the first rover on Mars. Apollo 11's crew proved that those missions were achievable and opened the doors for deeper exploration in the near future. This mission left a legacy for NASA and the aerospace community. Space exploration remains as important for humanity as it ever has been.
Apollo 11 was an important step in the ongoing process of space exploration. It produced rapid achievements in many fields. On July 20th, 1969, Apollo 11 became the first space mission to successfully land humans on the moon. It broke barriers by proving to the world that humans could travel to other celestial bodies and that humanity's limits reached beyond Earth. Apollo 11 was a major turning point for the space industry because the success in this mission paved the way for future space expeditions. The success allowed for numerous discoveries, technological advances, and changes in the world we know today.